The spaceport of Orion 9 was alive with noise and motion. Ships of all shapes and sizes landed and lifted off, while travelers from hundreds of worlds hurried through the wide corridors. Merchants shouted their offers, robots rolled along delivering packages, and lights flashed from signs advertising every kind of product. Among all this chaos, a small cafe sat quietly near one of the landing bays, its warm glow inviting anyone who wanted a brief pause from the busy crowd. Mark wiped grease from his hands as he worked on a small hover scooter outside his workshop. His fingers were streaked with black and silver, but his eyes sparkled with curiosity as he watched people move through the spaceport. Life was simple for him, but he liked it. He did not have a lot, but he had enough to eat, a place to sleep, and the freedom to fix and tinker with machines. That was enough. As Mark worked, he noticed someone unusual walking through the crowd. She moved with grace that seemed out of place in the bustling spaceport. Her skin was a soft lavender color, and her large eyes were golden and glowing slightly in the dim light. Her clothing was elegant, flowing like liquid metal, but it was not flashy. It gave her an air of quiet power. She stopped near the small cafe, holding a hot drink in one hand and a small device in the other. The device buzzed and clicked, clearly not working properly. She frowned, tapping at it with delicate fingers. Mark watched for a moment, curious. "Excuse me," he called gently, walking over. "Do you need some help with that?" She looked up at him, surprised. "Oh, yes, thank you," she said, her voice soft but clear. She tilted the device, showing him the screen. "It keeps failing to connect. I do not know what is wrong." Mark smiled. "I can take a look. I fix machines like this all the time." He reached for it carefully, and after a few adjustments, the device beeped happily, working perfectly. The alien woman's eyes widened. "You fixed it? How did you do that?" "I have some experience," Mark said simply. He handed the device back to her. "Sometimes machines just need a fresh perspective." She smiled, a gentle curve of her lips that seemed almost human. "You are very kind. Most people would have ignored me." Mark shrugged. "Everyone needs help sometimes. It's no big deal." She paused, looking at the small cafe behind them. "Would you allow me to buy you a drink, as a thank you?" Mark shook his head. "No need." "Really?" she insisted, placing the money for a drink on the counter. "Please. Consider it a token of gratitude." Mark hesitated, then smiled. "Well, okay. Thank you." They walked into the cafe together. The air was warm and smelled of sweet pastries and roasted coffee. The alien woman picked a drink from the menu that he had never heard of before. It smelled unusual but pleasant. Mark chose a simple hot chocolate, the same one he always had. They found a small table by the window. The alien woman sipped her drink carefully, her eyes watching the crowd outside. Mark was quiet, observing her. There was something about her presence that made the space around them feel calmer. "Do you come to Orion 9 often?" Mark asked. She shook her head. "Not often. I travel a lot. I have business to attend to on many planets." Mark nodded. "I mostly stay here. Fixing machines, helping people with their ships. Life is simple, but I like it." She smiled again. "Simple lives have a beauty. They are honest, unlike the worlds I often visit. Many people there only care about power or money." Mark raised an eyebrow. "You sound like someone who knows those worlds well." "I do," she admitted. Her eyes seemed distant for a moment, as if she was remembering something important. Then she looked back at him. "But I am grateful for kindness, like yours. It is rare." Mark laughed lightly. "Well, it's nothing special. I just do what I can." She reached into a small bag at her side and pulled out a shiny token. It was small and round, made of a metal he had never seen before. Please take this. It is a gift, to remember today. Mark looked at it. It felt warm in his hand. It's beautiful, but you really don't have to, please, she said softly. I insist. It will bring you luck. Mark put it in his pocket, still unsure what to make of it. Okay, thank you. They sat in silence for a few moments, sipping their drinks. Mark watched the crowd outside, noticing families, traders, and travelers. The spaceport was alive with stories, but today, his story had unexpectedly crossed paths with someone extraordinary. Do you travel alone? Mark asked finally, curiosity getting the better of him. She nodded. Often. I am careful with whom I associate. Trust is complicated for me. Mark smiled. I can understand that. I usually only trust people I see every day. It's simpler. The alien woman laughed lightly. It was a sound like wind chimes. Simplicity has its charm. The drink finished, she stood to leave. Thank you again, Mark. I am Tira, by the way. Tira Velan. Mark stood too, feeling a little nervous but also excited. I'm Mark. It was nice to meet you, Tira. She nodded, her golden eyes looking directly at him. It was nice to meet you as well. Perhaps our paths will cross again. With that, she walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Mark stood for a moment, holding the token in his hand. He could not explain why, but he felt that this meeting was the start of something important. He returned to his workshop, thoughts swirling. A simple act helping someone with a small device, paying for a drink had led to an encounter that felt far larger than ordinary life. The token in his pocket seemed to hum softly, as if it held a secret waiting to be revealed. Mark shook his head, smiling to himself. Life was simple, yes, but sometimes, simple moments had the power to change everything. The next morning, Mark was busy in his workshop, repairing a small cargo drone that had malfunctioned during a delivery. The sun rose over Orion 9, casting long golden beams across the crowded spaceport. Mark loved mornings like this, the quiet hum of machines, the smell of hot metal, and the sense that anything could happen in a new day. Suddenly, the door to his workshop slid open with a soft hiss. Mark looked up and froze. Standing in the doorway was Tira. She looked as elegant as ever, her golden eyes calm and focused. Her flowing outfit shimmered under the workshop lights. Tira? Mark asked, surprised. What brings you here? She smiled gently. Good morning, Mark. I hope I am not intruding. I have come because I need your help. Mark set down his tools. My help? I don't know if I can do much. I mostly fix machines, nothing important. She shook her head. Your skills are not the only reason I am here. I wish for your company and your perspective. It is rare to meet someone honest and kind in my world. I wish for you to come with me for a short journey. Mark blinked. A journey? Where? Tira took a small device from her pocket and waved it in the air. A holographic map appeared, showing a series of space stations, research labs, and corporate offices spread across Orion 9 and neighboring planets. I am part of a family that oversees many enterprises, she explained. Our corporation is vast, but I need guidance. I must choose someone I can trust and who sees the world simply, not just for profit or power. I wish for you to accompany me, Mark. Only for a short visit, to observe and advise. Mark's mind raced. He was a simple mechanic, used to grease and small repairs. This was a world of wealth, technology, and responsibilities far beyond his imagination. I don't know. It sounds big. Too big for me, he said. Tira's golden eyes softened. You may feel that way, but sometimes even the smallest mind can see truths that the greatest intellects overlook. I am desperate to find someone who understands value beyond wealth. That is why I came to you. Will you come? Mark hesitated. He looked around his small workshop. Machines hummed quietly, waiting for his attention. Life was simple here, safe. But he remembered the token she had given him yesterday, warm in his pocket, almost as if it was urging him forward. Finally, he nodded. Okay. I will go with you. But only for a short visit. I don't know if I can handle more. Tira's smile brightened. That is enough, Mark. You will see that the world I show you is fascinating, and your thoughts are what matter most. Within an hour, they were aboard her sleek, silver starship. It was small compared to the massive transports in the spaceport but radiated elegance and efficiency. Mark marveled at the controls and the view of Orion 9 shrinking beneath them as they lifted off. Where are we going first? He asked, still unsure what to expect. Tira gestured to the holographic map. Our first stop is the main research station. There, you will see some of the technology my family oversees. It is a world away from the machines you repair, but I want you to notice what is important, not just what is impressive. The journey was quiet but not uncomfortable. Mark watched stars streak past the windows as Tira spoke about her family and the responsibilities she carried. She explained that her family owned one of the most influential corporations in the galaxy, and that many species depended on their decisions for energy, medicine, and transportation. Most people think wealth is enough to solve problems, Tira said softly, but without care and understanding, it can cause harm instead. That is why I seek guidance from someone who sees value beyond numbers and profit. That is why I came to you. Mark listened intently, surprised by the trust she placed in him. He had never considered that someone of her position might genuinely care about others. In his world, life was about survival and hard work, not power and control. As they approached the research station, Mark could see its structure sprawling in space like a crystal lattice. Lights pulsed along the corridors, and small spacecraft moved in and out of docking bays. Robots floated around performing maintenance, and energy beams traced patterns across the station's surface. Tira led him through the corridors, introducing him to scientists and engineers. Mark watched as they tested advanced devices, from energy converters to gravity manipulators. He did not fully understand the science behind everything, but he could see the care and dedication in the workers' eyes. This is incredible, Mark said quietly. Tira nodded. Yes. But the machines are not what matters most. Notice the people. Their intentions, their concerns, their honesty. That is what sustains the work. Mark looked around, realizing that her words were true. The technology was impressive, but it was the effort, the thought, and the care behind it that made it meaningful. Later, they moved to another facility, where Tira showed him some of the corporate offices and decision centers. Holograms projected complex economic data, and advisors debated strategies for trading resources across multiple planets. Tira explained that her family faced constant pressure to maintain profits, but she wanted more than numbers. She wanted stability, fairness, and trust. Mark was quiet, absorbing everything. The world of wealth and power was overwhelming, yet he could see the small but essential truths she valued. He understood the importance of honesty, care, and responsibility. During a break, they sat in a quiet observation room. Tira offered him another drink, this time a warm, sweet liquid with a hint of fruit from her home planet. Mark took it, savoring the unusual but pleasant taste. You are thinking deeply, Tira said, smiling. Do you see why I wanted you here? Mark nodded. Yes. You want someone who cares about people, not just machines or money. I can try to help, but I'm not sure I can do much. You have already helped more than you know, Tira said softly. Your perspective, Your honesty, your simplicity, these are rare in my world. I feel fortunate to have met you. Mark looked at her, realizing that her words were sincere. He felt a strange sense of pride and responsibility. Though he was small in this vast galaxy, he could make a difference simply by being true to himself. As the day ended, Tira guided him back to the starship. Tomorrow, we visit another location, she said. It is more formal, and you may feel out of place. But remember, your thoughts are valued. I chose you for a reason. Mark nodded. I'll do my best. I don't know much about this world, but I will try to see it as you do. Tira smiled, a warm light in her golden eyes. That is all I ask, Mark. Sometimes, the simplest minds carry the greatest wisdom. Rest now. Tomorrow, the journey continues. Mark watched as Orion 9 grew smaller beneath them. His world had always been simple, quiet, and safe, but now he felt that something larger awaited him. A new adventure, full of challenges, discoveries, and perhaps even a place for him in a world far beyond what he had ever imagined. And as he held the token Tira had given him, warm in his pocket, he could not help but feel that his life was about to change forever. The starship glided silently through space, leaving Orion 9 behind as Mark stared out the window at stars streaking past. He felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Everything about this journey was new. The world he had known, a small workshop, simple repairs, and quiet routines, seemed far away now. Tira sat across from him, her golden eyes observing him carefully. Tomorrow, we will visit the main corporate headquarters, she said. It is not only large but full of responsibilities. You may feel overwhelmed. Mark laughed softly. Overwhelmed is an understatement. I can't even imagine how big it is. Tira's smile was gentle. That is why you are coming with me. I want you to see what matters beyond size and power. Sometimes, even the grandest place cannot teach what honesty, courage, and wisdom reveal. Mark nodded, unsure if he fully understood, but trusting her judgment. The next day, the starship landed on a massive platform orbiting a glowing planet. The corporate headquarters of the Velan family was a gleaming tower of metal and glass, stretching far above the clouds. It shimmered under the light of 3 suns, a symbol of wealth and power. As they entered the headquarters, Mark felt small. Robots moved swiftly along polished floors, holograms floated in the air displaying complex data, and alien executives in flowing uniforms walked briskly, discussing projects and deals. This is incredible, Mark whispered. I have never seen anything like it. Tira nodded. Yes, it is impressive. But remember, it is not the building or the machines that matter. It is the people within it. Their decisions, their intentions, their care for others, these are what shape a better world. She led him through corridors filled with research labs, energy facilities, and communication centers. Scientists demonstrated floating energy cubes, machines that could construct buildings in hours, and devices that healed minor injuries instantly. Mark watched, amazed, but he focused on the people. He noticed their concentration, their teamwork, and their respect for one another. This is amazing, he said softly. But I can see what you mean. It is not just the machines. The people make it important. Tira smiled. Exactly. Technology alone cannot create a better world. It must be guided by wisdom and compassion. They reached a large observation room overlooking the city below. Tira gestured to the bustling activity outside. Look at the systems we maintain. Energy flows to thousands of settlements, medicine reaches those in need, and resources are carefully managed. But it is not easy. My family faces constant pressure from rivals who care only about profit and control. Mark nodded, understanding the challenge. So, you want someone to help see what is really important, not just the numbers. Yes, Tira said softly. Someone who values honesty, fairness, and thoughtfulness. Someone who can advise me without fear of personal gain or loss. That is why I asked you to come. I believe your perspective is rare and valuable. Mark felt a mix of pride and anxiety. He was just a simple mechanic, not someone used to dealing with wealth or power. Yet, Tira trusted him. That trust made him feel responsible, and he wanted to do his best. Tira led him to a smaller lab where a team was testing new energy sources. A glowing crystal floated above a pedestal, pulsing with light. Scientists explained its potential to power entire cities without pollution. Mark watched closely, noticing how carefully the team worked together. They argued politely, shared ideas, and corrected mistakes without blame. This is impressive, Mark said. Not just the crystal, but how they work together. Exactly, Tira said. That is what I value most. Technology is only as good as the people guiding it. I need someone who sees both. As they walked through another corridor, Mark saw a group of advisors discussing interstellar trade agreements. Holograms displayed trade routes, resource allocations, and market predictions. Mark could not understand all the data, but he observed the discussions. He noticed honesty in some advisors and subtle manipulation in others. He realized that Tira's world was not only about machines but also about decisions that affected countless lives. You are noticing more than you think, Tira said, her voice gentle. That is why I brought you here. I want your perspective. You notice truth and fairness without being influenced by power or greed. Mark felt a sense of purpose. Though he was simple, he could see what others might miss. He began to understand that his role in this journey was not to master technology but to guide Tira in seeing what truly mattered. They moved to a conference room where Tira explained her family's challenge. She needed to choose a successor, someone who could inherit not only the wealth but the responsibility of guiding the corporation with fairness and care. Rival families and corporations watched closely, waiting for a mistake. It is a great responsibility, Mark said quietly. And dangerous too. If someone chooses wrongly, many people could suffer. Tira nodded. Yes. That is why I need someone honest, someone who can see the importance of people over profit. You may be simple in your world, Mark, but your values are rare and strong. That is why I asked for your help. Mark felt a mixture of pride and fear. He was not used to such weight on his shoulders. Yet, he also felt a spark of excitement. He could make a difference. He could help guide this powerful world toward fairness and kindness. After a long day, Tira took him to a quiet observation deck overlooking the stars. The city lights below glimmered like tiny jewels, and the stars above stretched endlessly. You have done well today, Tira said softly. You have noticed what many others overlook. That is why I value your presence. Tomorrow, we will continue to explore, and you will meet more people who shape this corporation. Observe, learn, and share your thoughts. That is enough for now. Mark nodded. Thank you, Tira. I will do my best. She smiled, golden eyes glowing softly. I know you will. Sometimes, the smallest voices carry the greatest truths. Your voice may guide the future in ways you cannot yet imagine. As Mark looked out at the stars, he felt a sense of hope and determination. His simple life had opened a door to a world he had never dreamed of, and he realized that he could make a difference. The journey had only begun, but already he felt that something extraordinary was unfolding. And as the stars shimmered around the headquarters of Tira's corporation, Mark held the token she had given him. It felt warm, reminding him that even small gestures of kindness could lead to incredible journeys. The morning light filtered through the tall windows of Tira's corporate headquarters. Mark sat quietly in the breakfast hall, sipping a steaming cup of tea. The soft hum of the city below mixed with the occasional whir of service drones. Today, Tira had told him, would be different. He would face challenges designed not to test strength or speed, but his mind, judgment, and character. When Tira arrived, she carried herself with her usual grace, her golden eyes calm and determined. "Good morning, Mark," she said. "Today, you will see what it takes to understand this world. These challenges are not easy, but they will help you understand responsibility, decision-making, and fairness." Mark felt a flutter of nerves. "Challenges? What kind of challenges?" "You will see soon," Tira said with a smile. "The first is a simulation of our trade networks. You will help decide resource distribution for several planets. Mistakes could affect thousands of people, so choose carefully." Mark nodded, unsure if he could do it. They entered a room with a large holographic table. Stars, planets, and transport lines floated above it, shifting and moving. Advisors stood nearby, observing quietly. "This is a simulation," Tira explained. "The data reflects real conditions. You will make decisions based on the needs of these planets." Mark studied the map. He noticed some planets were rich in resources, others struggling with food and energy. He could see that prioritizing wealthier planets might make more profit, but it would leave others in danger. He thought about fairness, responsibility, and the people behind the data. After careful consideration, he made his choices. The advisors watched in silence as the simulation ran. Slowly, the results appeared. People on struggling planets received food and energy, while wealthier worlds managed to sustain themselves without harm. Tira's eyes glowed softly. "Well done, Mark. You saw the people behind the numbers, not just the profit. That is what I hoped for." Mark felt a quiet pride. He realized that his perspective, simple as it was, could make a real difference. Next, Tira led him to a simulator for piloting advanced ships. "You will navigate a rescue mission," she explained. "Time is critical, and obstacles will appear. You must think clearly and act quickly." Mark took a deep breath and entered the simulator. The controls were complex, but he focused on the task. A distressed transport ship appeared on the screen, trapped by meteor debris. He carefully maneuvered around the obstacles, using his instincts and knowledge of machines to guide the ship to safety. The simulator ended, and Tira smiled. "You did not only succeed, Mark. You remained calm and thoughtful, qualities I value highly. Bravery without care is dangerous. You showed both." Mark wiped sweat from his brow. "I didn't know I could do that. It felt strange, but good." Tira guided him to the final challenge of the day, a situation involving diplomacy. Holograms of alien leaders appeared, each with their own requests and demands. The simulation required negotiation skills, patience, and fairness. "You must find a solution that benefits all parties, or at least minimizes harm," Tira explained. "This is one of the most difficult challenges. Decisions here affect entire species and communities." Mark studied the holograms carefully. One leader demanded rare minerals, another needed food for their planet, and another wanted energy supplies. At first, he felt overwhelmed. How could he satisfy everyone? Then he remembered Tira's words, "Think of the people, not the profit." He began prioritizing the needs of the most vulnerable while finding compromises for the others. Slowly, a plan emerged. He allocated resources in a way that seemed fair and balanced, allowing each group to survive and thrive. When the simulation ended, the holograms disappeared. Tira's eyes glowed warmly. "You have done exceptionally well, Mark. You considered fairness, wisdom, and compassion. That is what guides a true leader. You have shown me your judgment is sound." Mark felt a wave of relief and pride. He realized that despite being a simple mechanic, he could think carefully and act wisely. His perspective was valuable, even in a world of advanced technology and power. After the challenges, they walked to a quiet garden terrace overlooking the city. Strange alien plants glowed softly in the sunlight, their colors shifting gently. Mark sat on a bench, still absorbing the day's lessons. Tira joined him, sitting nearby. You see, Mark, it is not about being the smartest or strongest. It is about care, thoughtfulness, and honesty. These qualities are rare in my world, but they are what truly matter. Mark looked at her. I never thought I could do something like today. It was challenging, yes, but it also felt meaningful. I think I understand why you wanted me here. Tira smiled. You understand more than you realize. Your values are what my family needs in the future. You remind me that even in a world of power and wealth, simple truths guide the best decisions. Mark felt a strange warmth. For the first time, he realized that he could belong in this world, not because of wealth or status, but because of who he was. As the sun set over the city, casting golden light across the terrace, Tira stood and extended her hand. Come, Mark. Tomorrow, you will see another side of this world. You will witness the challenges we face from rivals and competitors. It will be dangerous, but your insight will help us. Mark took her hand, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. I'm ready, he said. Tira's eyes glowed softly. Good. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting wisely despite fear. Remember that, Mark. You have shown me that courage and care can change the future. As they walked back into the building, Mark thought about everything he had seen today. Machines, technology, strategy, diplomacy, all of it was overwhelming at first. But he realized that the most important lessons were about people, values, and responsibility. He looked at Tira and felt a deep respect for her. She was not just a powerful leader, she cared about fairness and honesty. And now, she had chosen him to witness, learn, and guide her world in small but important ways. Mark held the token she had given him, warm in his pocket. It reminded him that small gestures could open doors to incredible opportunities. Today had been difficult, but it had also shown him that even a simple person could make a difference. And as the city lights of Tira's world glimmered below them, Mark felt a quiet determination. He would continue to learn, to help, and to guide when needed. He understood that this journey was only beginning, and that the challenges ahead would test his courage, wisdom, and heart. But he also knew that with honesty, care, and thoughtfulness, even the smallest voice could influence a galaxy. The morning on Orion 9 began like any other, with the spaceport alive with activity and the city's machines humming steadily. But Tira sensed unease in the air. Her golden eyes scanned the communication feeds as her starship hovered above the city. Something was wrong. Mark noticed her tension. Is everything okay? He asked. Tira shook her head. I fear our rivals are making a move. They have been watching our operations closely. It is time to act, and your help may be needed. Before Mark could ask what she meant, alarms rang throughout the headquarters. Red lights flashed across the corridors, and messages scrolled on holographic panels. A rival corporation, one that had long competed with Tira's family, had launched a series of attacks. Their goal was clear: disrupt operations, steal technology, and weaken her influence. Mark felt a rush of fear but also determination. What can I do to help? Tira placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Your skills and perspective can make a difference. Machines and decisions are involved, but your quick thinking may save lives today. They rushed to the command center, where a team of engineers and security officers worked to manage the crisis. Holograms showed damaged energy grids, transport ships under attack, and sabotage in research labs. The scale of the challenge was enormous, but Tira remained calm, issuing instructions with precision. Mark noticed a small transport drone trapped in the debris near one of the energy plants. Without thinking, he ran to a control console and began guiding it through the wreckage. The drone's sensors blinked rapidly as he maneuvered it carefully around obstacles. With patience and skill, he guided it to safety, ensuring that critical supplies reached the stranded workers. Tira watched him, impressed. "You are calm under pressure, Mark. That is why I trust you. Do not underestimate the impact of small actions." As the day progressed, the attacks grew more sophisticated. Rival hackers attempted to take control of systems, and drones moved to intercept supply lines. Mark worked with engineers, using his mechanical knowledge to reroute power, repair damaged circuits, and restore communication links. He felt adrenaline in his veins but also a sense of purpose. Each repair, each decision, helped protect countless lives and ensured that the city's operations continued. Tira noticed how naturally he adapted, balancing careful thought with decisive action. At one point, a larger transport vessel was trapped in orbit, unable to land safely due to interference from the rival corporation. Tira turned to Mark. "You must guide it down. Time is critical." Mark focused, using the controls and applying his knowledge of gravity systems. The ship shuddered as it approached the platform, but he remained calm, thinking through each movement. Slowly, carefully, he aligned it with the landing bay and brought it down safely. The engineers cheered quietly, and Tira's smile was warm with pride. "You saved them, Mark," she said. "Your skills, your calm thinking, and your courage made the difference." Mark wiped his brow. I was just doing what I could." "No," Tira said firmly. "You did more than that. You acted with care and intelligence. That is rare, and it is invaluable in times of crisis." The attacks continued throughout the day, but with Mark's help, Tira's team managed to stabilize the systems. They repaired the damaged energy grids, restored supply lines, and neutralized sabotage in the labs. Slowly, the city returned to order, and the rival corporations' plans began to fail. As the sun set over Orion 9, the city lights flickered back to life. Workers returned to their tasks, and the hum of machines resumed its steady rhythm. Tira and Mark stood on a terrace overlooking the city, watching the aftermath of the day's events. "You were remarkable today," Tira said softly. "Most people would have panicked or frozen. You acted with intelligence and compassion." Mark shook his head. "I just did what I thought was right. I didn't know if it would work, but I tried." "That is what makes you different," Tira said. "You think of others, not just yourself. That is the quality I have been seeking. Bravery is important, but courage guided by care is far greater." Mark felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time, he realized that he had a place in this world. He was not just a mechanic or an observer. His actions mattered, and they had saved lives. Tira turned to him, her golden eyes glowing softly. "Tomorrow, we will continue. You will see how important perspective and honesty are when making decisions that affect many. Today, you proved that even a simple mind can be powerful when guided by wisdom and heart." Mark nodded, feeling both pride and humility. He looked at the city below, the lights reflecting hope and resilience. He realized that the galaxy was a vast place, full of challenges, but also full of opportunities to make a difference. That evening, as they returned to the headquarters, Tira invited him to rest. "You have done enough for one day, Mark. Sleep well. Tomorrow, new lessons await." Mark lay in his quarters, thinking about everything he had seen. The attacks had been frightening, but he had discovered something important: his skills, judgment, and honesty could influence events far beyond his small world. He felt a sense of purpose stronger than he had ever known. As he held the warm token Tira had given him, he understood its meaning in a new way. It was not just a gift. It was a reminder that small acts of kindness, honesty, and courage could open doors to great change. Today had been a test, and he had passed it not because of strength or wealth, but because he had stayed true to himself. The next morning, the city buzzed with normal activity once more. Tira and Mark stood together on the observation deck, looking at the repaired systems, the safe transport routes, and the grateful workers returning to their tasks. "You have seen the importance of courage and care, Mark," Tira said. "Tomorrow, you will meet others who shape this corporation. You will see how diplomacy and wisdom guide our decisions. Your insight will be valuable." Mark nodded. He felt ready for whatever came next. The rival attacks had tested his skills and his heart, and he had discovered that even a simple mechanic could have a meaningful impact on a galaxy full of challenges. As Tiro led him back into the headquarters, he felt a quiet determination. He would continue to learn, to observe, and to act with wisdom. He understood that this journey was far from over, but he now knew that his presence, honesty, and care could change the course of events in ways he had never imagined. And as the stars twinkled above Orion 9, Mark held the token in his pocket, warm and steady. It reminded him that courage, kindness, and wisdom could guide even the smallest person to do remarkable things. The morning sun rose over the city, casting long golden beams across the headquarters of Tira's corporation. Mark stood on the observation deck, sipping a warm drink and watching the city awaken. After the recent rival attacks, the city's energy was restored, and life seemed to hum steadily again. Yet, Mark could sense tension in the air. Tira approached him, her golden eyes calm but serious. "Today, Mark, is important," she said softly. "I must make decisions about the future. My family and my advisors are waiting for my choice. It is not an easy task." Mark nodded. "I understand. You have to think about the corporation, the people, and the future. I may not have experience, but I will help however I can." Tira smiled faintly. "That is why I asked you to come. Your perspective is valuable. Sometimes those who are not influenced by wealth or power see the truth more clearly." They entered a large chamber where holograms displayed plans, projects, and the vast network of the corporation. Advisors and executives gathered quietly, their eyes on Tira as she moved with calm authority. "I have seen much during this journey," she began, addressing the room. "But before I make a decision about succession and partnership, I wish to consider all perspectives, including those who may not have titles or influence but carry honesty and wisdom." Mark felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He was just a mechanic, unfamiliar with corporate power, yet Tira valued his thoughts. Tira continued, "The person I choose will help guide this corporation, not for profit alone, but for fairness, innovation, and the well-being of all. They will share responsibility, insight, and care for our people. Today, I will listen, reflect, and decide." The chamber remained silent, the weight of her words settling over everyone present. Mark's mind raced. Could he really be part of this? Could he guide such a vast network, help decisions that affected thousands of lives? Tiro led him to a private area of the chamber. "Mark, I want you to be honest. What do you think is most important for the future of this corporation?" Mark thought carefully. "I think the most important thing is to care about the people, not just the money or technology. Machines and technology are helpful, but if the people are ignored, nothing else matters. Decisions should be fair, thoughtful, and consider those who cannot speak for themselves." Tira's golden eyes softened. "You are right. That is what I value. I see that in you, Mark, a mind and heart that consider others before oneself. That is rare in any world." Mark felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that even a simple perspective could influence the future of an empire. The day passed with discussions, reviews, and meetings. Mark observed the advisors, noting who spoke with honesty and who acted from personal interest. He quietly shared his thoughts with Tira, offering insights she might not have noticed. As evening approached, Tira gathered everyone in the main chamber. "I have considered my options," she said. I have listened to the advisors, the experts, and the people around me. But I have also listened to someone whose perspective is simple, honest, and thoughtful. That is the perspective I value most. Mark's heart pounded. He could feel the attention of the room, all eyes on Tira and him. I choose someone who has shown courage, wisdom, and care, Tira continued. Someone who sees the importance of people above profit, someone who has proven themselves in times of challenge. Mark, you have been that person. I ask you to join me, to help guide this corporation and share in responsibility. Mark's mouth went dry. He had never imagined being part of something so vast, so important. I don't know what to say, he stammered. Say only what you feel, Tira replied. This is not about titles or power. It is about commitment, care, and honesty. Mark took a deep breath. He thought about the people he had helped during the rival attacks, the lessons he had learned about fairness, responsibility, and courage. He remembered the token she had given him, warm in his pocket, a reminder of the kindness that had started this journey. I will do it, he said finally. I will help guide this corporation. I will do my best to act fairly, to care about people, and to make good decisions. I don't know everything, but I will try. Tira's golden eyes glowed with warmth. That is all I ask. Commitment, honesty, and care are more important than knowledge or experience. With these qualities, we can shape a better future together. The advisors and executives looked at Mark with surprise, some nodding with approval. They had expected a successor from within the ranks, someone experienced in management and power. Instead, Tira chose someone simple, honest, and thoughtful. As the sun set, casting warm light across the city, Tira and Mark walked to the terrace overlooking the headquarters. You have done more than I hoped, Mark, Tira said softly. Your perspective has shown me that even in a world of wealth and power, truth and care guide the best decisions. Mark smiled quietly. I feel honored, Tira. I never imagined this would happen. I just wanted to help, to do what was right. But now, I see that even small actions can lead to big changes. Tira placed a hand on his shoulder. That is the essence of leadership, Mark. To act with wisdom, honesty, and courage. And to value the people who are affected by your decisions. Together, we can shape a future where fairness and care matter as much as technology and wealth. Mark felt a quiet determination. He realized that the journey had changed him. He had discovered that even a simple person could influence a galaxy if guided by honesty, courage, and compassion. That night, as the city lights sparkled below, Mark reflected on everything he had experienced. He had begun as a humble mechanic, helping a stranger with a small device. That act had led him to meet Tira, see a vast corporation, face challenges, and now, become part of shaping the future. He held the token she had given him, feeling its warmth. It reminded him that small gestures, simple kindness, and honesty could open doors to incredible opportunities. He had learned that courage and care were more powerful than wealth or experience alone. Tira looked at him, her golden eyes filled with trust and respect. Tomorrow, we continue our work. There will be more decisions, more challenges, and more opportunities to shape the future. But now, you have proven yourself. I am grateful for your presence, Mark. Mark nodded, feeling a sense of purpose stronger than he had ever known. I will do my best, Tira. I promise. As they gazed at the stars above, both realized that this was only the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where trust, honesty, and courage would guide their choices. Where a simple human mind could influence a galaxy. And where together, they could bring a future shaped by care, fairness, and hope. Mark's heart was full of determination. He knew the path ahead would be challenging, but he was ready. He had learned that even the smallest voice, when guided by wisdom and honesty, could change the course of the future. The first light of morning painted the city in soft gold, reflecting off the glass towers of Tira's corporate headquarters. Orion 9 was calm now, its energy grid stable and its citizens busy with daily routines. The attacks by rival corporations were over, and peace had returned, but the real work was just beginning. Mark stood on the observation terrace, looking over the city with Tira beside him. The journey that had begun with a simple act of kindness helping a stranger fix a device had transformed his life in ways he could never have imagined. He had faced challenges, guided decisions, and now was entrusted with shaping a corporation that impacted countless lives across the galaxy. Tira turned to him, her golden eyes bright with warmth. "Mark, today we begin a new chapter. Not just for the corporation, but for the people who depend on us. We have a chance to create a future built on fairness, care, and innovation. Are you ready?" Mark nodded. "I am. I never imagined I would be here, but I know we can make a difference if we work carefully and thoughtfully." Their first task was to oversee the restoration and improvement of the energy grids across the planets under Tira's guidance. Mark worked alongside engineers, using his mechanical knowledge to optimize systems and repair older stations. His insights, though simple, often offered fresh perspectives that the seasoned engineers had not considered. During the day, Tira held meetings with advisors and leaders from various planets. Mark observed quietly, noting the importance of listening and understanding all points of view. When he offered his opinions, they were thoughtful and focused on fairness rather than profit or politics. The leaders were impressed by his honesty and clarity, and slowly, Mark realized that his presence brought balance to the discussions. In the afternoon, Tira invited Mark to participate in a project aimed at improving living conditions on one of the smaller, struggling planets. Houses were cramped, energy scarce, and supplies limited. Mark proposed simple yet effective solutions, using solar collectors for energy, redirecting water supplies more efficiently, and establishing local workshops for repair and maintenance. The engineers implemented his suggestions, and by evening, the first improvements were visible. Children had brighter homes, families had better access to energy, and workers felt empowered to maintain their own systems. Mark smiled as he saw the happiness and relief on their faces. Tira watched him, admiration in her eyes. "You see, Mark, small ideas, grounded in care, can transform lives. Innovation is not only about advanced machines, it is about understanding the needs of people." Mark felt a deep sense of fulfillment. For the first time, he realized that his life, once simple and limited to fixing small machines, had a purpose that stretched across worlds. He had helped shape not only technology but also the lives of countless people. As night fell, Tira and Mark returned to the headquarters. The city glowed below them, a testament to the efforts of many, guided by careful decisions and compassion. "Tomorrow, we will launch a new initiative," Tira said. "It will involve trade, education, and technology sharing across planets. Your insight will be essential in ensuring fairness and cooperation. Are you ready for this responsibility?" Mark nodded. "I am ready. I've learned a lot, and I will continue to learn. We can make things better together." Over the next days, Mark and Tira worked tirelessly. Trade routes were restructured to ensure no planet went without necessary supplies. Schools were established on remote worlds, giving children opportunities for learning and growth. Energy systems were upgraded to provide sustainable power. Mark's simple ideas, combined with Tira's resources and leadership, created practical solutions that worked for everyone, not just the wealthy or powerful. The people across the planets began to notice the changes. Communities felt supported, disputes decreased, and hope returned. Mark saw the impact of their work firsthand and felt a sense of pride unlike anything he had known. One evening, Tira and Mark walked through a restored city district on one of the smaller planets. Children played safely in open spaces, families carried baskets of fresh food, and the air was filled with laughter. Mark looked around in amazement. "You've done this, Mark, Tira said softly. Not alone, of course, but your ideas, your perspective, your honesty, all of it made a real difference. Mark shook his head. I only helped, Tira. You provided the resources and leadership. I just tried to think clearly and fairly. Tira smiled, her golden eyes warm. Even the smallest contribution can ripple across worlds. Today, people live better lives because you cared and acted thoughtfully. That is extraordinary. As they returned to the headquarters, a message arrived from one of the planets. Leaders sent their thanks, expressing gratitude for the improvements and the fairness that had guided decisions. Mark read the message aloud, feeling the weight of their words. For the first time, he understood that his actions, though simple, could shape the lives of many. Weeks passed, and the corporation flourished under Tira and Mark's guidance. Rival corporations attempted minor disruptions, but the strength of fairness, transparency, and care ensured that these attacks failed. Mark learned more about leadership, strategy, and innovation each day, but he never lost his simple perspective. He remembered that caring for people was more important than impressing with power or technology. One evening, Tira invited Mark to the observation deck. The stars shone brilliantly above, and the city lights twinkled below. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Mark, she said, you have been extraordinary. You came into my world as a stranger, yet you have helped guide it with honesty, courage, and care. You have proven that even the simplest heart can shape the future of a galaxy. Mark smiled, feeling both pride and humility. I never imagined I could do something like this. But I've learned that kindness, thoughtfulness, and courage matter more than skill or power alone. With you guiding me, I could see the right path. Tira nodded. Together, we have built something that will last. A future where fairness, care, and innovation go hand in hand. And this is only the beginning. Many worlds will continue to benefit from our choices. Mark looked at the stars and thought about the journey that had brought him here. A simple act of kindness helping a stranger fix a small device had changed his life. It had brought him to Tira, had allowed him to face challenges, and had given him the chance to make a real difference. He held the token she had given him, warm and familiar. It was a reminder of how small acts of kindness and honesty could lead to incredible journeys. Thank you, Tira, Mark said quietly. For trusting me, for letting me help, and for showing me that even a simple person can change the world. Tira smiled, her eyes glowing softly. The journey was ours together, Mark. And the future will continue to shine, guided by people like you. Never forget, courage and care are more powerful than wealth or influence. They are what truly shape the galaxy. As they stood together, looking at the city and the stars beyond, Mark felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had discovered that life's true power did not lie in machines, money, or status, but in honesty, compassion, and the courage to act wisely. And in that moment, Mark realized that the galaxy was full of possibilities. With care, wisdom, and courage, even a simple heart could leave a lasting impact. Together, he and Tira would continue to guide the future, bringing hope, innovation, and fairness to countless worlds. For Mark, the journey that began with a simple act of kindness had become the adventure of a lifetime, a story of courage, wisdom, and the power of humanity to shape the stars. The galaxy was vast, the challenges many, but with honesty and heart, anything was possible. And as the stars shone above Orion 9, Mark knew that this was only the beginning of a future bright with hope and promise.